I sliced the stitching on his volunteer vest with my nail scissors, and a second SIM card slid into my palm while the airport boarding call blared from the living room speaker. His passport was already on the table, open like a dare. His aide badge sat beside it, glossy and righteous, his face smiling under a logo everyone in our circle reposted. The vest smelled like cheap detergent and something sharper, like hotel soap, because he'd washed everything for the mission. The SIM was warm, like it had been used minutes ago. I held it between two fingers, hearing his suitcase wheels scrape the hallway as he dragged them past the bedroom door, humming like a man with nothing to hide. My old spare phone was in the junk drawer under the batteries. I flipped it on, hands moving faster than my brain, and shoved the SIM in just as the bathroom faucet shut off. A lock screen popped up. No photos, no wallpaper, just one notification, incoming call, from a number saved as Mara Logistics. The call kept ringing like whoever it was didn't care about time zones or boundaries. I stared at the name and felt my throat tighten, not because it looked romantic, but because it looked practiced, the kind of label you choose when you don't want questions. I answered without thinking. "Finally," a woman said, breathless like she'd been running. "Is he there?" I didn't speak. The silence stretched and she lowered her voice anyway. "Tell him I can't do this again. Not with the photos. I'm not stupid." A door creaked. His footsteps crossed the hallway. I killed the call and yanked the SIM out so fast my nail bent. The screen went dead like it had never existed. He walked into the kitchen, still damp from the shower, hair slicked back, carrying his toothbrush like a flag. "Hey," he said, bright and easy. "You up already?" I had the SIM pinched in my fist so hard it left a half moon in my skin. I kept my hand behind my thigh and forced my face into neutral. He leaned in and kissed my cheek, gentle, public, the kind of kiss you give when you want the world to see you giving it. Then his eyes dropped to the vest on the counter, my scissors still beside it, and something flickered across his expression so fast I almost missed it. "What's that?" he asked, voice light. Too light. I slid the scissors into the drawer. "Loose thread," I said. Didn't want it tearing. His smile came back a second late. "You're the best." He reached for the vest, fingers brushing the inner seam where the SIM had been, and I watched him feel the fabric like he was checking a wound. "I really have to go," he added, already moving, already escaping. His phone buzzed on the table. He snatched it up before the screen could show anything, thumb flying. "Just the team chat," he said instantly, like he'd been waiting for the moment to explain it. "Signal's awful out there, so we have backups, security stuff." He said security the way people say, "Trust me." I followed him to the door. He swung the suitcase upright and slipped his wedding ring on in the reflection of the hallway mirror, twisting it into place like a costume piece he almost forgot. Outside, the neighbors were waiting with donation boxes and a little handmade banner. Someone had baked him cookies shaped like hearts and bandages. He stepped into the crowd, smiling bigger, waving, letting them touch his arm like he was already a hero. I stood in the doorway, clapping when everyone clapped, and slid the SIM card into my bra as he turned back to me with that warm, practiced face. "Don't worry," he said, squeezing my hands. "I'm doing something that matters." Then his pocket buzzed again, and he flinched, just once, before the smile snapped back into place. He kissed me like a goodbye for an audience, lifted his suitcase, and walked straight into the applause while I stood there holding a secret piece of plastic against my chest, feeling it burn like a live wire. I didn't cry when the door shut. I smiled at the neighbors until their footsteps faded, then I locked every bolt like I was sealing in smoke. The SIM card scratched my skin when I pulled it out in the bathroom. I turned on the spare phone again, slid it in, and the screen lit up like a guilty eye. No wallpaper, no apps, just a clean home screen and a single folder labeled Work. Inside were two things, a messaging app with no name and a photo vault icon shaped like a calculator. I opened the messages first. The chat list was short, which meant he'd been pruning it. Mara, Logistics, sat at the top with a red dot. Under it, A driver and warehouse. All so boring it was almost elegant. I tapped Mara. The thread wasn't romantic. It was worse. Efficient. Times, addresses, little check marks. Mara. You promised you'd stop using that line. Him. It's not a line. It's true. I'm only there because they need me. Mara. They need supplies, not you. Him. They need both. Mara. You'll be at the hotel after the drop, right? Same room? Him. Room changes. I'll send the number when I land. Mara. Bring the vest. People love the vest. My stomach turned because she wasn't jealous. She sounded like a partner, like someone managing a system. A new message typed in while I stared at the screen. Mara. Tell me you didn't bring her to the send-off. My thumb hovered. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I scrolled up faster and found what he'd left behind on purpose or by accident. Little shards. A selfie. His face cropped close, background blurred, his volunteer badge visible on his chest like a prop. Under it, him. This gets me anything I want out here. My hands went cold. I backed out and opened the calculator vault. It asked for a 4-digit code. I tried his birthday. Denied. Our anniversary. Denied. Then I typed the last 4 numbers of his donation account he'd made a show of setting up in front of me, like transparency was a performance. It opened. Inside were photos and short videos, all tagged with dates. Not one of them looked like food distributions or debris clearing. They were hotel mirrors, rumpled sheets, a woman's hand holding his badge against her bare thigh like it was a prize ribbon, and in the corner of one video, half out of frame, was a stack of branded boxes, the same boxes the neighbor had just handed him, sealed and untouched, sitting by the door like stage dressing. My chest tightened so hard I had to sit on the tile. A second later, the phone buzzed. Incoming call. Mara, logistics. I let it ring twice, 3 times. Then I answered and didn't say hello. Her breathing filled my ear. Where is he? She snapped, all softness gone. I stayed silent. She paused, recalibrating. He said he was flying. He said he'd text when he landed. He always texts when he lands. Always. I swallowed, forcing my voice to work. Who is this? A beat, then a laugh, short and sharp. Oh my God, you're the girlfriend. Wife, I corrected, and the word tasted like metal. She went quiet for a second, like she was deciding which lie to hand me. He told me you two were done, that you just lived together, for appearances. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, my hair messy, my face too still. For appearances, I repeated. Look, she said quickly, I'm not the bad guy. He's the one who, tell me the truth. I cut in. How long? She exhaled like she'd been waiting for permission. Since the first trip, the one everyone posted about. He came back with that stupid vest and the hero stories and... Her voice cracked. He came back with me, basically. I just didn't know you were real. My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles hurt. What do you mean everyone posted about? She hesitated, then said, because he isn't just helping. He's using the donations. He's using the trips. He told me it's easy when people want to believe you. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The tiles under me felt like ice. In the silence, the spare phone chimed again, another notification sliding across the top of the screen. Mara. He just forwarded me his boarding pass. It's not to where he told you. And in the mirror, behind my own shoulder, I saw the living room wall where his framed volunteer certificate hung, straight, polished, and suddenly obscene. I didn't call him. I opened the airline app, pulled up his forwarded boarding pass from Mara's screenshot, and watched the destination code sit there like a punch. Not the border city he'd repeated at every dinner party. Not the place people prayed for on Instagram. A resort town. I grabbed his framed volunteer certificate off the wall so hard the hook tore paint. The glass cracked in a clean diagonal, and his printed name split like it wanted out. I slid the spare phone, the SIM, and the shattered frame into a tote bag and walked to the car without a coat. At the airport, the departures board gave me the gate number like a confession. I didn't run. I moved the way you move when you're trying not to make your life real. His flight was delayed. Of course it was. I found a spot near the gate where I could see the seating area and the hallway to the lounges. People sat with backpacks and sleepy kids and tired faces, the kind of crowd his costume was built for. Then I saw him, not because he stood out, because he didn't. Hoodie pulled up, vest folded and tucked into his carry-on like it was a tool to be deployed later. He had his head down, phone angled away from everyone, thumb moving fast. He looked up once, scanning, and I froze because his eyes didn't look for me. They looked for someone else. A woman appeared from the lounge corridor like she knew exactly where to step. Dark ponytail, clean coat, small suitcase. She walked straight to him without hesitation. Mara. He stood immediately, smiling in that private way I never got in public. He kissed her. Not a cheek kiss. Not a goodbye for the neighbor's kiss. An easy kiss. Practiced and hungry, like his body had been waiting for permission. My stomach dropped, but my hand stayed steady. I took the spare phone out and hit record. She handed him something, not a gift bag, not flowers, an envelope, fat, stiff, like cash or documents. He slipped it into his backpack without looking. Then she laughed and tugged the edge of his hoodie down. "Not here," she whispered, and I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the grin, the shared joke. He pulled out his volunteer badge and pressed it into her palm for a second, like it was a token, like it was their luck charm. She snapped a quick photo of it against her leg, the exact same shot I'd seen in the vault. My mouth went dry. I stood up and walked toward them. His eyes met mine halfway, and the color drained from his face so fast it was almost theatrical. The smile collapsed. His body shifted, putting his shoulders slightly in front of her, like he could block me from existence. "Babe," he started, voice already soft, already shaping a story. I didn't answer him. I looked at her. "Mara," I said, and watched her flinch at hearing her name from my mouth. She glanced at him, then at me, then at the framed certificate in my tote bag when the cracked glass caught the overhead light. Her lips parted like she wanted to apologize, then shut like she'd been trained not to. He stepped closer. "This isn't what it looks like," he said, and his hand reached for my elbow. Ownership disguised as comfort. I pulled back and held up the spare phone so he could see the screen. On it, paused and bright, was the video frame of his badge on a bare thigh. The dates lined up underneath like receipts. His throat bobbed. "Where did you—" "From your vest," I said, and watched his eyes flick down to his carry-on like he'd just remembered the seam. People around us shifted, ears tuning in. A man with a stroller slowed. A couple near the window stopped talking. He tried to lower his voice the way he did when he wanted control. "Not here. Please, I'm about to—" "Go help?" I cut in, loud enough that a woman 2 seats over looked up. "Is that what you call this?" Mara's face tightened. "He said you were separated," she blurted, defensive like a reflex. I nodded once. "And he told me you were logistics," I said. "So I guess you're both just titles." He snapped, just for a second. "Stop," he hissed, not at me, at her, like she'd spoken out of turn. That was the crack. I reached into the tote bag and pulled out the framed certificate. The glass was spidered, his name split in 2. I held it between us like a mirror. "You love this thing," I said, and my voice stayed calm because calm is louder when someone's lying. "You hang it up where everyone can see. You let people bake you cookies, you let them clap for you, and then you use it like a key." His eyes darted to the crowd. He opened his mouth, searching for the version of himself that wins. I didn't give him time. I turned the frame around so Mara could see the back where I'd taped the SIM card in place like evidence, then I turned it back toward him and said, "I already sent the videos to the organization, and I attached your resort boarding pass." His face went slack, like the air left his body. Mara took a step back, clutching her suitcase handle like it was a lifeline. "You said it was safe," she whispered to him, suddenly small. "You said no one checks." He reached for her, panic sharp now. "Mara, wait!" She jerked away, eyes wet but hard. "Don't touch me." His phone buzzed again. He looked down automatically, and I saw the notification banner before he could hide it. "Org Security, calling." He stared at it like it might disappear if he didn't blink. The boarding announcement crackled overhead, cheerful and oblivious, calling his flight to line up. He didn't move. He just stood there between the woman he lied to and the woman he married, watching his hero costume rot in real time, while the cracked glass in my hands threw his smiling, printed face into jagged pieces across the floor.